Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Danielle. I'll be your host as we discuss Infinite Cosmic Records, an original modality by Maya the Shaman. Today we have Michael Pistano with us. He's a contributing writer in Infinite Cosmic Records. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm great, Danielle. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure to to be a part of this and to be a part of this interview. So thank you for taking the time to set all of this up.
Oh, absolutely. And we thank you too. It's so amazing to have you here. And before we dive into the book, could you share with us a little bit about your background and where it is you are from?
I'm originally from the Philippines. I moved to Canada back in 1989, right after I finished college. So I lived there for about 14 years. Then I moved here to the United States, and I live here in California. So my
Nice.
background, my college background is in business management and information technology, but my current background really is stemming from the last 3 decades. It's really in health and wellness and nutrition and fitness. So right now, my role, what I do, uh, I have two roles. One from the business side, I'm a manufacturing consultant for different companies that make supplements and organic food. So basically, in that, whatever you shop for at Whole Foods and all the groceries, like the different supplements you see, I work in that space. So that's my main thing. And the secondary thing that I do for what I've been doing now for the last 8 years is also I'm a health coach. Basically, I'm a certified fitness trainer, and I just work with select individuals. So it's not a full time thing that I do. I just work with like friends and people that are referred to me. So those are two things. It blends the combination of business and my passion for health and wellness and healing on the on the physical physical side of things. So that's what I do in a nutshell. You know,
I love that. That's amazing. And being a part of this type of industry with, holistic healing and the Rada publishing, it really ties in nicely with what it is you do. And with the background that you have, it actually helps people realize that you don't have to already be in the healing field. You know what I mean? Like it's already it's a natural essence of who we are to be healthy,
mhm.
to be strong mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So kudos to you for taking, your health in your hands and implementing it into your career. That's a really good example. So when you were connecting with Maya the Shaman about the infinite cosmic records, and she was explaining what exactly her original modality is, and then versus what you've experienced, how would you explain in your own words what infinite cosmic records is from your perspective?
Well, I've known Maya for a long time. I've worked with her, uh, for over a decade with her Lemurian code healing. And this was something that she had approached me about. This is a new modality that takes you back to, your infinite self. And, wanted to expand on that and learn more and really go back to my original starseed roots. So that's what really appealed to me when she approached me about having this session and having had really positive experience because I actually wrote about my healing experiences with her in the first two books that I published a few years ago. So it's something that I'm very familiar with, but now she's taking it to a cosmic level, shall we say? And I wanted to get to the root of what my higher self and what the universe is directing me to do now at this point. And because I'm on another healing journey, which has been the case now for about a decade because I've run into so many different health challenges, and I'm still around, and then I'm like asking, okay, like it's kind of getting exhausting, but I'm still continuing with the journey. So when she approached me about it, I said, no, let's go ahead and do this and explore what can be done to take me back to my origins and uh, how to apply that experience to what is happening right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the perspective from someone that maybe has never heard of infinite cosmic records and then someone who has worked so closely with Maya and has had the session yourself,
Mhm.
how would you explain that to someone? Like what is it exactly?
It's like The way I would explain it to someone is that like deep within your gut tells you that there is so much that that source or your higher self wants to communicate to you, and it's just that you can't pinpoint exactly what it is, where to go. And what she does is takes you back to to your infinite self, to
Mm,
your infinite, because like this vessel that we have is just a temporary one. It's just to
right.
help us understand what because we get so distracted by all of the 3D experiences that we're going through, that we are inadvertently blocking what
Mm,
the universe is trying to communicate to us. So what she does is helps guide you through all that, and through images, through the journey that you take, in a cosmic sense. It helps reveal certain aspects about your true origin, so that you feel that you're not just limited. So it basically expands your consciousness.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a really interesting way to explain it because I definitely feel like it's an experience that is so unique, and everyone,
Mm-hmm.
that has the opportunity to work with Maya, you know, can connect with what you just said, even though I'm like, for example, I may have not thought to say it in that way. So I like how you worded that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much accurate in that sense. Your expansion of your consciousness is so um, expanded, so that
Yes.
that actual session, when you begin, she drops you into a state of intent, where you drop your, you go into a state of intention. When you
Mm-hmm.
were going through that process, what was your intention that you had stated out loud or felt within your being
Well,
for the session?
my intention really was to really guide myself into understand what this process I'm going through now, in terms of what I need to do to further my healing, and to further understand, not just from what I'm going through right now, but to really expand all the different messaging that's coming through in a subliminal aspect, and also in the direct aspect. Because I know, like, you ever have that feeling where in like you're here, like right now we're talking, we're awake, but
Mm-hmm.
then there's a part of you that's like kind of like whispering, to you. It's like, hey, like knock knock, I'm trying to get some messages through. So what
Yeah.
she does is helps connect that, like as a bridge, where when we go into uh that state wherein we allow the light to go in through our chakras, to from the bottom to all the way to the top, slowly in a progression, so that you can connect yourself and start intuitively listening. Like for me, it's not about asking, okay, uh, what is the direct message, like how am I going to heal, what is my purpose. I understand that already I have a purpose. It's just that can I get a little bit of guidance as to
Mm,
um, what um, what I can do to move forward, and to just be allow myself to let go and listen to what the universe is trying to say. So that was the intention of the session, is not to specifically heal one specific aspect of me, but to just have a comprehensive understanding, because there's so many things in that cannot be put into words, because it's so limited, because like verbal communication is really not the best way, because like when you are actually communicating telepathically, that is the true intention that's coming through, and that's how source communicates,
mm.
is through images and vibration and frequency. And that's what I wanted to get back in touch with, because the last couple of years have been challenging, because when you're constantly dealing with a lot of physical pain, then it does affect your mental and emotional state. So I wanted to just kind of like filter that all that out, and say, and just experience, okay, what am I really supposed to do moving forward from this point. I know I'm focusing on my immediate healing, but you know what can I expect further.
That's
So the
amazing.
session was so the
Yeah.
session really was taking me into that state wherein, from the past sessions that I've had, where it's just expanding it to a higher level, like I guess in the different dimensions, as you might call it, just expanding it, expanding it, not just looking at it from an Akashic record standpoint or looking from a 4D or 5D standpoint, but just like the whole thing. And that's why it's called infinite, because you can never pinpoint one specific thing. It's just because of the infinity aspect of it, you just have to understand and just allow what is resonating and vibing with you at this moment. So that was what I wanted to achieve, is to get back to some kind of like homeostasis,
Mm.
from what was going on, and then move forward with that, and with her guidance, because she's very intuitive. She kind of uh, directs you in the right, I guess, frequency,
Mm.
uh, to allow you to really go back, really go back to who you really are, uh, the infinite self.
That's so powerful. I really am excited to hear about your doorways. And with that being said, where did this take you? And how many doorways did you end up going through as far as your
Uh,
remembrance?
there were three
Okay.
doorways. I think the first one was taking me to, because there was just something that I was feeling so lonely about, feeling like being alone, because that you're awake to you have this awareness that you are way more than this physical body. So that first doorway that I was led to, it was very gentle, and I'm walking through this, to this tunnel, and the first doorway was, this big doorway, this big door that I was going to open, and it was a wood door, and it's got this big, uh, circular wooden handle, and it's got all these um, ancient designs, as I would call it. I don't know if it's
Okay.
called the hieroglyphs or symbolism, but that first doorway I opened, it was actually I stepped into it, and it's like I stepped back into my original source,
Oh,
into the
wow.
world that I was first born in. And it was not I was I was in a water planet. I believe it was like something like Sirius B, and I was communicating with dolphins, and I was just feeling so
Aw.
emotional, because yeah, that was I was missing. It's like I've always had an affinity for water since I was young, and then also with aquatic animals. So it was just, and then there was this one dolphin that I was you know connecting with there. It's like I was transported, in not back in time, but into that planet itself, into that big, that huge water planet. And dolphin was just like saying, hey, like you're back here, welcome back. And feels great that, and I was very happy, and I was crying because
Oh.
it felt so good, because you're back with your star family. uh so that was that first story. Very powerful experience. Like, uh
Wow.
you can't really put it into words, but all I can say is that, you know she she allowed had directed me to that door, wherein it took me back to, it's something that I've always been had dreams about, and had always had connection with that star system. And that was very powerful. And then the next doorway, if you want me to talk about the next
Oh,
doorway, I
yes.
can.
I'd love to hear all three.
um so after, like saying my goodbyes, and then stepping back into that pathway, and going to a second door. The second door was, very similar, like these designs. It's like symbols, basically.
Mm,
And
okay.
as someone step into that, uh, it was it's like I was in another, in a gigantic uh, spacecraft,
Okay.
and there was like, it's like being it's like being in an airport. There's so many different people, but these are not just people. There's so many different beings, kind of like being in like Star Wars or Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're like oh many different types of life forms, and I'm like, okay,
So it
you
was
know,
a visual thing for you. You can actually
oh yeah,
see.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, very visual. And I guess people were, you know, the beings that were there were coming from so many different parts of the multiverse, and they needed some kind of, you know, healing, and I was being directed to also to my own healing chamber and just help recharge and you know my life force, my light energy. And then after that, I was also telling me to also help guide people that were coming in for their own healing and say, okay, here it's like the med beds that we've talked about.
Okay. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So and the thing is, I've had this particular you know vision and image even like from 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I couldn't make any sense of what it was because I was like like a passenger in this huge spacecraft and there and just so much chaos. But now this was more you know more peaceful and
Okay.
more orderly, and it's like showing that you know universe is you know what the
Mm.
timeline that we're in right now is like people are you know are healing, are awakening, and part of my journey is to help people with their own healing as well through my healing. Because when I healed, then you know the others will heal, especially you know my lineage, you know
Mm-hmm.
my lineage here. Um, so that was you know that was very very uh, you know powerful. Sometimes right now I'm kind of like drawing a blank on the third doorway. And I know it was when I had to say goodbye, and you know once I was recharged. Uh, oh my gosh! Like, why am I drawing a blank right now? I know I already wrote about it too.
Was it possibly a past life, or was it, or were all three your doorways connected to your star family?
It's past Star Family mostly, and then to I believe it was my past life. It was one of my past lives.
It's okay if you can't remember.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we acknowledge all the doorways. I mean, it's just a quick
Yes.
sneak peek, but that'll give you
Yeah.
guys something to check out when the
It's
book comes
crazy.
out.
I actually you know typed it in, and then now just maybe it's just asking me to go back to it and refine it. But yeah, it's weird. You know, like I actually have it you know written down already, but now I'm on this third one. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, maybe we're not meant to hear about it. We're meant to read about it.
Yeah, I think it's
And-
meant to more
yeah.
discernment, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, out of these two, the doorways that you experienced in this current lifetime, which one do you feel resonates the most for the healing, uh, that feels healing and resonates to the current life that you're working on?
I think that one where you know in the gigantic spacecraft, where I'm doing the you know healing myself first, you know, getting you know stepping into that bed and getting healed,
Mm,
and you know reassembling my light codes and recharging them and putting in new stuff in there to be you know upgraded. And then after going through that process, then we might turn to help others as they're crossing into that you know stepping into the healing. And it's like exactly like what's going on right now, because more and more people are waking up, then they need a lot of healing,
that's so true.
but they don't know where to begin. And you know
Yeah.
because in this 3D world that we're living in, we're being poisoned by in every aspect, you know, the from an
Mm,
energetic standpoint, from a food standpoint, water, air.
yes.
So our you know the physical bodies that we exist in here right now, that we're in this in this human skin suit, is having a hard time handling everything. So I think our role as star seeds is to help you know people through that process from an energetic level, because this is
Right.
you know this physical existence we have is just temporary, and that's what we have to reassure people is that you know when we are passing through you know this existence, it's never the end. It's we're infinite. It's just that
Yes.
we need to go through you know upgrading, you know,
Yes.
constant upgrading of our light codes.
That's so beautiful. I love everything you're saying. It's amazing. It does take a certain level of responsibility to recognize this and do the work. And I feel like when you're, leading by example by healing yourself first, it definitely calls in a certain type of energy for people to be drawn to that as well. So
Mhm.
you're giving almost not that they need it, but you're giving a sense of
Yeah,
permission to say it's okay. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we
Because
need
we're so
this.
bombarded. We're so
Mhm.
bombarded now. We're in everything is so externally focused that we
Right.
feel either we feel that we're pressured to help others,
Yeah.
before helping ourselves. But in actuality, when you're actually helping yourself, that effect actually has a ripple effect, because when you're healing yourself, it's like healing other people too.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's the message I got. It was like, okay, you're on the right path. Continue with your own healing. Don't be rushed into a timeline that is not yours. And when you're ready to come out of the cocoon, you'll know when it's time. So it's just like a reassurance that what I'm doing now, the decision I made to step back and really focus on myself, um, was the right one, and to just be patient as well, because things are happening, and to trust the process. And what we're seeing right now may seem so chaotic, but it's actually like it's just like a butterfly. You have to you know
Yep.
blossom into one. You have to go inside first, and then
Mhm.
emerge from that cocoon, in a higher level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well said. I know you've worked with Maya for some time now, and for those who have yet had the opportunity of even, let's say this is the first time someone is just hearing about Maya the shaman, how would you explain to someone that has worked with Maya what it feels like to have a session like this or just work with her in general? Because I know that she's very gifted. But
Mm.
being this is her original modality, like how would a person coming in just now hearing of her the first time, what would benefit them? What would make them, would they feel supported? Like how would you explain to an outsider?
It's the way she conducts the session. From the tone of her voice to the pitch, everything is in there. Because it's a vibration, a frequency.
Mm,
So she's very in tune with what she's saying and how she's saying it, and the energy that she's exuding. So that's a part of what people will need to understand, is like, how like you have this gut feeling that you can work with this person and trust this person,
yeah.
and you start um, letting go of the shields that you have, barriers around you. So
Yeah.
that's what I would tell people, is it's a very gentle process, and she's also a very intuitive, because she tunes in with you to that session, and acts as a guide, but not forcing anything on you. So you're left to really just be aware. She's just
Right.
there, kind of like a watcher, but then kind of helps nudge you, but doesn't direct you. It's just like letting you absorb everything that is about who you really are, and then knowing when to pull you back, okay, and then helping you, guide you to
Yeah.
the next step.
She's very supportive, and I agree with you in
Hmm.
that sense. Absolutely. Um, when you work with her through the process of the creative writing, how did that feel for you as a writer? Did you feel supported, guided?
Well, having the way the way I write, and then having worked with her on that, is that she allows the writer to really express themselves,
Mm,
and
yeah.
then if people are having blocks, then she helps cut through that clutter, right? Because you don't want to force, like when it comes to writing, you don't want to force feed it. You
Right.
want to let it flow. And what she does is, okay, well, if you're having certain blocks, then let's address those and find out what is the barrier towards that. And it's either she may redirect you, because sometimes your ego mind is trying to force feed you into to write something that it doesn't really want to write about. So that's how she She guides you into the process and let you describe it in your own way. It's a very intuitive process because creative writing really comes from the heart, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's heart is different. So, and it depends on how the culture we grew up in this lifetime and through past experiences. So what she does is helps cut through those barriers and then have you filter and narrow that filter into a specific thing that you want to communicate, because you want to, when you write, you want to focus on one key idea. And sometimes people, when you're trying to write a chapter, people get so many so many ideas, they want to put it all in one chapter. It's not going to
Right.
happen. So she
Yeah.
helps this, you discern through, like, okay, what is that one focal point that
Mm.
that source and your higher self wants to really communicate, to be put out, and to to discern from all the clutter. So that's where she's good at, and very intuitive, and then guides you as to how to really bring out your true self in writing. Because you have to let go of your ego and be humble when she is like reading your chapter and saying, okay, well, this could be better communicated this way, uh, and more expansive. So that's what she does. She allows you to be a creative writer, but at the same time, she also gently guides you to uh, the best way to do it.
She's amazing. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
love the way that you're sharing the testimony about it. It's absolutely accurate and true from, the individuals I've spoken with prior to you. And she's truly gifted in more than one way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this important thing is, like, when to set expectations when you work with her, you really have to let go of your ego.
Mm,
Yeah, because the
yep.
ego struggles to be in control.
Yeah.
So you have to really drop that that multi-layered force field and just let your true self shine.
Aw, that's so true. Well said. So Brada Publishing House, how do you feel about being published with them as a publisher?
It feels great. I mean, this was something that was it was a vision of Rada back a few years ago, and I was part of the first book, and I had to pull out of the second one primarily because of I had to focus on my healing. And then this was at this point now I was ready to write about the infinite cosmic. So this brought me back into being more comfortable getting back on the keyboard, because there was a lot of trauma that was being generated when I was hurt, and then I was trying to force write something and it just
Mm,
wasn't coming out,
right.
and it just became a physical burden. It was so painful that actually for a while I didn't want to open up the laptop for the last 8 months, because I was just associating it with a lot of physical and emotional pain.
So
So,
sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're doing a lot better and that we have you here now with Infinite Cosmic Records, because I couldn't imagine you not being here.
mhm.
I feel like you said it's all timing, but ultimately, your doorways sound really interesting and dynamic. It's just, if anything, it's so relatable to those who are so well connected to their star
Mhm.
family. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for them to read about it and from a different
Yes.
perspective, from
Yes,
awakening
yes,
versus, yeah.
because everything has to do with what I'm going to be writing about. Everything has to do with a lot of like different light frequencies, different shades of light. Because light is energy, and then
Hmm.
the different frequencies, like the different bandwidths. So that's what it really was, that session was all about, was like giving me back to that full spectrum, and then align and narrow it down to what is my higher self trying to communicate, and reassuring me that, hey, everything is okay.
Hmm.
You're not alone, and
Oh,
you're always supported.
that's amazing. Well, everyone has a few life lessons to learn. So before we take off today, I want to know a couple of your life lessons that you've learned along the way.
uh hmm, there's been a lot, but the most important two life lessons would be to one, to not uh, beat yourself up too much, and to forgive yourself
Mm,
for all the mistakes, because we're all going to make mistakes. We're here to learn. And that's the life lesson is to be able to learn to move on from that and not keep yourself in that frequency of being lonely or being angry or being sad, because that
Mm,
keeps you stuck in that ego spiral wherein you're never going to get out of. So that life lesson here is like, don't take everything personally. Just learn to calm down, because I know I can be very hot tempered. I can be very emotional, very intense. So that was the life lesson, is learning to kind of tone that part down. And then the second life lesson is to really uh, focus on taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, and not feel guilty about doing that. Because right now everybody's trying to, because of the world that we live in, we
mm,
feel that we have to keep pushing beyond the limits. But it's like a car, right? You can't just press the gas pedal all the time, 100%. You got to
right.
you gotta ease up, brake a little, maybe get some maintenance done. Change the oil, change the coolant. Check the turn signals, the electric wiring, and everything. So that's the life lesson, is you gotta take the time to assess yourself, inside and outside. And when you take care of, here's my philosophy: is like, when you take care of your body, it takes care of you.
Yep.
uh, Up to a certain point, because when it's time to move on, it's time to move on, and not be afraid of that transition. For me,
Mm,
if it so
yeah.
happens that it's my time to go, then my mission is accomplished, and I'm done. But I won't be afraid of it anymore. So with all the because in the past decade I've had uh, three near death experiences. So that was like, oh, different, and they were all different too. So I'm like, okay, the last one was walking out of that car accident, where my car was totaled,
Wow.
and that was it. So I'm like, okay, all right, so it's another lesson learned. So yeah, so those are the two things that I would tell people, is to just learn to focus on yourself, and also allow yourself to receive
Mm,
a lot. Instead of just giving and giving.
yeah. Yeah. I feel
There's
that
nothing
when,
wrong with
yeah.
receiving it.
I mean, I feel all of what you just said, but some of us are at different points of what we're learning. And,
Hmm.
everything that you've mentioned is so important. Um, be gentle with yourself, I guess is a good way to say
Hmm.
it. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing, because it's very wise of you. And I know that you personally have experienced that, to learn that. I think we do at a certain point
Hmm.
as adults go through that. So thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that.
A pleasure. You're welcome.
Yeah. Could you share with us where we can contact you and what you're up to?
Right now you can find me, my Instagram. I used to have a much more expanded social media profile, but I've had to contract that, just for personal reasons. But Instagram is where you can reach me. It's my handle is True Maharlikan. So Maharlika is actually the original um, ancestry. Like Philippines
Mm-hmm.
is named after King Philip the same, but the true name of my ancestry, the country that I was born in, is Maharlika. So that's our ancestry. So that's my Instagram, True Maharlika. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook under Mike Pistano, and I have a Facebook page called The Autoimmune Journey of Healing. So that's a new page that I just put up.
Okay.
And that basically just focuses on how I deal with handling the autoimmune condition that I have.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'll be sure to link all the information down below so they can contact you. And
Sounds
Mike,
good.
I really appreciate your time. Honestly, you've come so far, and I know you've been through a lot. So we look really forward to reading your chapter, and I'll be sure to link all the information down below. And I appreciate your time this evening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you,
Thank
Danielle.
you. Bye.
Bye.